In the recent week, the S&P 500 has gained more than 1.6%. However, the most important thing was the all-time high level of the S&P 500, which was 6945.77. And other than that, there are two consecutive closings above the previous all-time high level. And all of this makes the S&P 500 not just the bullish, but heavily bullish. And now you might be thinking that S&P 500 is now ready for the 7,000 psychological level. However, S&P 500 is not expected to test and hit the 7,000 in this manner because of the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones is also in the same condition wherein it has to give two consecutive closings above its previous all-time high. And other than that, in the previous S&P 500 weekly technical analysis, I mentioned that this week will remain bullish, and on Monday S&P 500 has given a good bullish candle. Because of this good bullish candle, it was then clear on Monday itself that the entire week until Friday will remain bullish. And even in my first update and the midday update on Monday, I mentioned that if the S&P 500 remains bullish, goes bullish, then there will be the bullishness in the short term. Short term means for this the entire week. And then this was further confirmed on Tuesday. Because on Tuesday, the S&P 500 gave the closing above the 6,900 psychological mark. This was the first update, and the same was mentioned in the midday update on Tuesday, that because of this manner, we can expect the short term tomorrow and Friday, means Wednesday and Friday, to most likely to remain bullish. And the historical achievement was seen on Wednesday when the S&P 500 came into the open equal to low condition to hit and to breach the previous all-time high and will make a new all-time high. However, after breaching, the S&P 500 will remain limited to the 693x in the bull side. And this was my pre-market update, pre-market analysis before the open of the stock market on Wednesday. So how exactly the S&P 500, Dow Jones, Nasdaq are going to move in the coming week? Okay, whether there are any more chances to move up, okay, or if there are any more chances, or if there are any chances for the 7,000 in the coming week, or if it will simply give up. It will simply give up to fulfill its technical obligation to the 684x/5x. Okay, all of that I'm going to discuss in detail in this S&P 500 weekly technical analysis, which is for the week of December 29th, means from December 29th 2025, which is Monday, to January 2nd 2026, that will be Friday. So guys, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. And if you want to get these daily precise updates every day from Monday through Friday, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. Now guys, let me tell you that I have divided this S&P 500 weekly technical analysis in two parts. First part is the technical part. In the technical part section, I will tell you that there is a very dicey situation. Okay, the entire market can collapse. Okay, if that particular situation does not improve in the coming week. Okay, technical part means I will show you the weekly chart and the daily chart. Okay, technicals. Second part is a probable movement. In the probable movement, I will tell you, okay, that whether it will first move up or if it will come down, what will be the levels or the zones that will provide the support, okay, etc., etc. This kind of movement which is expected to happen in the coming week. So guys, this is the technical part. In the technical part, first I will cover the weekly chart, then I will cover the daily chart. Weekly chart means one candle represents 1 week, okay, not 1 day or 1 hour. One candle means one week. Now, let's first analyze the weekly candle. If you notice this weekly candle, the closing of the candle is above the previous all-time high of the candle, and this is the most important part of the candle. Other than that, it is a heavy bullish candle. This indicates an initial or intraday bullishness on Monday. Initial or intraday bullish movement on Monday. Okay, there may come a gap up open, okay, but that is not confirmed, but an initial or intraday bullish movement on Monday will be there. Okay, this the candle is signifying. Okay, now this is the weekly candle of the Dow Jones. In case of the Dow Jones, it is very different, because the Dow Jones actually in the week of 10th of November, Dow Jones breached the previous all-time high but failed to close above the previous all-time high. That is why it came down. Then it again moved up, and in the week of 8th of December, it has breached the previous all-time high and managed to close above the previous all-time high. Then in the next week, it came down. Now in this week, the S&P, the Dow Jones moved up and closed above the previous closings, not the wick. I'm not talking about the wick or the high, all of the previous open and the closings. Okay. However, the Dow Jones failed to give a closing above its recent all-time high, that is 4,886, 6.86. This is the all-time high of the Dow Jones. So Dow Jones has failed to close above that, but because of this heavy bullishness and the closings above the open and the closings of the previous weekly candle, an initial or intraday bullish movement on Monday in the Dow Jones, no gap up open. Gap up open cannot be confirmed, but an initial or intraday bullish movement in the Dow Jones will be expected in this manner. Okay. So now in both of these cases, in the S&P 500 and Dow Jones, now it is clear and confirmed that on Monday, irrespective of any open, there will be an initial or intraday bullish movement, right? Now, let's analyze the technical indicators, and this is where the problem is. Okay, technically S&P 500 is bullish through the Ichimoku cloud, bullish through the moving averages, bullish through the Bollinger Bands on the weekly chart, and the S&P 500 is bearish through the MACD and is barely bullish through the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart. It is neither overbought nor saturated. So in this manner, the S&P 500 is 80%. The S&P 500 is 80% bullish on the weekly chart. Now comes the Dow Jones. Well, Dow Jones is clear. Dow Jones is bullish through the Bollinger Bands, through the moving averages, through the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly chart, and the Dow Jones is also bullish through the MACD and is also bullish through the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart, neither overbought nor saturated. So Dow Jones in this manner is very safe and is 100% absolute bullish. Okay, Dow Jones is 100% absolute bullish on the weekly chart. S&P 500 is 80% bullish on the weekly chart. What does that mean? This means that the long-term trend in the market is still absolute bullish. Okay, it is absolute bullish, right? This means that whatever weakness, whatever bearishness that will be there, this weakness or bearishness may open an opportunity to buy, okay, and then it will move up, unless it triggers a change in the technicals. Now the problem, the problem is in the S&P 500, and especially if you see the MACD is on the weekly chart, MACD is bearish, it is trading bearish, and bearish MACD on the weekly chart is creating a problem because bearish MACD on the weekly chart indicates sudden fall, sudden drop, sharp fall. Okay, anytime. This fall can happen anytime without any reason. Okay, kind of heavy profit booking, you can say. Okay, this is a problem. Now, yesterday the S&P 500, the stochastic RSI of the S&P 500 managed to sustain bullish. It did not give a bearish crossover. Okay, until Wednesday there was a bearish crossover, but then holiday on Thursday and then Friday, okay, it sustained and closed above. So there were two consecutive closings above the previous all-time high. That was the condition that it will remain bullish, means the stochastic RSI will not give the bearish crossover. This is why yesterday in my pre-market analysis before the open of the stock market, I have clearly mentioned that if the SP 500 closes above 6922, okay, this is not my level. Okay, 6922 actually was the number that was acting as a tiebreaker between the bullish between the bullish survival of the stochastic RSI, okay, and the bearish. So if the SP 500 closes above 6922, then the SRSI on the weekly chart will remain bullish and will not support the bearish MACD, and the pressure on the market will be there, but will still be limited, not enough to trigger correction or very heavy fall. And because the stochastic RSI sustained bullish, managed to sustain bullish, that is why we are still expecting market to trade bullish. However, for the stochastic RSI of the S&P 500 on the weekly chart to remain bullish, the S&P 500 must get a good bullish movement in the coming week. Okay, only if there comes a good bullish movement in the coming week, the stochastic RSI will remain bullish. There will not be any bearish crossover. Okay, however, if the S&P 500 fails to do so, in that case there will be the bearish crossover. MACD will remain bullish. When stochastic RSI is bearish, MACD is bearish, especially on the weekly chart, then irrespective of anything, manipulation or no manipulation, market will have to give up, market will have to come down. Okay, this is what I have repeatedly mentioned, okay, in last many months and years. Okay, if you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, right? So this means that next week will be crucial, because the only way to sustain and to survive bullish is to move up. That's it. Not to hold, not to give up, not to hold, but just go bullish, trade bullish. That's it. Nothing else. Okay, not more than that. Right? In case of the Dow Jones, this thing is not there. This thing, okay, the only problem in the Dow Jones is that it has to clear its previous all-time high, must give daily closings above the previous all-time high, and that will help the Dow Jones to move up. And when the Dow Jones moves up, then it will help the S&P 500 to move up. Now this will be more clear through the daily chart. So let's now analyze the daily chart. So guys, before I discuss the daily chart, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. And so far, if you have liked this video, then hit like to appreciate, and your appreciation matters a lot. And if you want to get the daily precise updates, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. Now guys, this is the daily chart. In the daily chart, okay, first let's discuss the candle. This candle is a limited bearish candle, but the most important part of the candle is that the closing of the candle is above the previous all-time high level of the candle. Okay, otherwise this candle would have triggered a limited fall like 1% or so. But because the closing is above the previous all-time high level, so now any fall, okay, will be limited to or around the previous all-time high, or like less than 1%. Okay, or in simple words, okay, 6,900 range. Okay, this the candle is indicating. This candle is neutral candle. It is not, it is neither indicating bullishness nor indicating bearishness. Okay, this candle is simply indicating market's willingness, S&P 500's willingness to sustain, even though there is pressure, but still the markets, the S&P 500s and the Dow Jones, okay, the entire market willingness to sustain. That's it. It is a neutral candle. Okay, now comes the Dow Jones. This is the last candle of the Dow Jones. Okay, very thin candle of the Dow Jones. Okay, on the daily chart, limited candle, failed to breach the previous all-time high. Okay, it is again a neutral candle on the daily chart, just a neutral candle. Okay, because if you look into the body of the candle, okay, this candle this candle looks like a doji candle, but in actual it is not. Okay, so again it is a neutral candle with no particular sentiments, bullish or bearish. That is why whatever the sentiments will be there through the technicals will be applicable on the candle. Okay, generally what happens, that the whatever the candle signifies, okay, candle always overrules the technicals if there is a case of like that. But in this case, the technicals, the rule of the technicals will be applicable on the candle in both of these the cases. Okay, neutral, just the neutral impact. Okay, this means that we can say that whatever we have learned through the weekly chart, that there will be an initial or intraday bullish movement, that will be there. Okay, in terms of the technicals, the S&P 500 is bullish through the moving averages on the daily chart, bullish through the Bollinger Bands, bullish through the Ichimoku cloud on the daily chart. The S&P 500 is bullish through the MACD, bullish through the stochastic RSI on the daily chart, neither overbought nor saturated. So S&P 500 is 100%. It is 100% absolute bullish on the daily chart. Okay. Now Dow Jones is almost the same, because Dow Jones is also bullish through the moving averages, Ichimoku cloud and Bollinger Bands on the daily chart. Then the Dow Jones is bullish through the MACD and the stochastic RSI on the daily chart, neither overbought nor saturated. there was some condition for the bearishness, but then the Dow Jones has formed a bullish slip. Okay, this will also support the Dow Jones. So in this manner, the Dow Jones is also 100% absolute bullish on the daily chart. Now, technically, the entire market, entire US stock market, okay, will be considered as heavily bullish, heavily, like more than 90%. The only problem is the S&P 500 on the weekly chart wherein the MACD is bearish. Because if in the coming week there comes a good green candle, then the MACD might give a bullish crossover, but still there is no confirmation. However, whenever the MACD on the weekly chart gives a bullish crossover, then that time definitely 7,000 will be there without any doubt. Okay, see, 7,000 is a psychological level. S&P 500 has gained heavily this year in the 2025. That is why moving from here to 7,000, okay, it is like just 1%, around 1%. But this 1% will be very, very heavy. S&P 500 will struggle, will come down, will move up, will struggle. But once the MACD on the weekly chart gives a bullish crossover, then there will not be any struggle. Whatever struggle will be there, that will be that will be simply taken care by the MACD, and then it will hit the 7,000. Okay, this means that if it doesn't happen in the coming week, then in the second week of January we will see, okay, that this thing is happening. However, if in the coming week the stochastic RSI gives a bearish crossover, then in the second week we will see the fall before it hits the 7,000. But whatever will happen or whatever is going to happen, I will keep you posted through these daily precise updates, okay, which I give to my Patreon community members. So guys, before I proceed to the next section, which is the probable movement section, let me share this information with you, that how you can join my Patreon community. So for that, you need to understand that I give these daily precise updates every day from Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's not all, because I also give the opportunities in the premium stocks of the US stock market 5050 to 8080. And that's not all, because I also give the midweek update, and it's a video technical analysis that I give to my Patreon community members, okay, every Wednesday. And in this video technical analysis, I discuss all of the levels, numbers, bullish and bearish movement, and everything in detail. So guys, if you also want to get these daily precise updates every day from Monday through Friday, and the midweek update, video technical analysis, and the premium opportunities, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. And guys, when you follow that link, then you will see that this is my Patreon page and this is my Patreon profile. And here you will see this button, this tab which says membership options. And when you open this tab which says membership options, then you will see that there are these three levels or these three tiers: level 1, level 2 and level 3. And guys, if you notice, many people have joined my Patreon community for last many days, weeks, months, years, and they are getting these daily precise updates every day from Monday through Friday, and are getting the midweek update, video technical analysis, and the premium opportunities in the stocks and the ETFs, and they are very well aware of what is happening and what is going to happen next. So guys, whenever you want to join my Patreon community, you can follow the link that I've given in the description of the video and also in the comment section, and you can use that link to join my Patreon community. Now guys, I'm going to discuss the second part of the agenda of this S&P 500 weekly technical analysis. And here I will give you the probable movement. Probable movement means what is expected to happen in the S&P 500, Dow Jones, Nasdaq in the coming week, the week of December 29th, means from December 29th, 2025, which is Monday, to January 2nd, 2026, Friday. Okay, Monday to Friday, whatever is expected to happen. Okay, that I'm going to discuss here. So the first thing first, next week, 1st of January is the holiday. Okay, so there are only 4 days. Okay, but the 31st of December, okay, it will be a full day trading, okay, and will not be the half day trading just like what we have seen on 24th of December. That's the only change. Other than that, on Tuesday, okay, afternoon, the FOMC minutes of the meetings will be released. This is the only event in the next week, and this is the only event that can trigger some volatility in the market. Otherwise, everything will trade through the technicals, levels, numbers. Okay, now, so in case of the S&P 500, what we know is that S&P 500 has given 2 consecutive closings above the previous all-time high level, okay, this is a sign of bullishness. Okay, bullishness or heavy bullishness, this is the sign of that. The only problem is that on the lower level charts, the S&P 500 is saturating. Okay, that is why we have seen the pressure. That is why yesterday on Friday, I mentioned this to my Patreon community members that there are good chances of the profit booking. But for the profit booking to happen, S&P 500 must lose and give at least 1 hourly closing below the previous all-time high, that was 6920.34. Then only there will be the chances for the profit booking, otherwise no chances. Okay, but the S&P 500 sustained and never even, it did not even test the previous all-time high level. Okay, so what does that mean? This means that the market is bullish. Okay, the S&P 500 is bullish and is absolute bullish and is heavily bullish and is in a condition to move up. Okay, so before that we must understand that 6,900 is now the psychological support for the S&P 500. Before that, the all-time high 6920.34 and my level in the 691x. These two are creating a good or a heavy support zone for the S&P 500. Okay, so even if the S&P 500 fails to move up, then it will come down. But as long as it is sustaining, holding, closing above this zone, okay, then in that case it will remain in a condition to get an intraday bullish movement. When it gets the intraday bullish movement, okay, then it will move up. Now we might be thinking that all is well and the S&P 500 after sustaining, it will move towards the 7,000 range. Okay, so towards the 7,000 psychological level. However, that is not the case. Why that is not the case? Because of the Dow Jones. The high of the Dow Jones is 4,886.86. This is the all-time high of the Dow Jones, 4,886.86. So only and only if, or only and only when the Dow Jones moves up and Dow Jones clears and Dow Jones closes above the 4,886.86, okay, then only there will be the chances for the S&P 500 to move up not towards the 7,000 but to move up to the 6,995x/6x. There is a zone, okay, that is there. As of now, S&P 500 is move up to this the zone and then to struggle. This is the case even when the Dow Jones manages to move up and closes above its all-time high. However, if the Dow Jones gives back-to-back 2 consecutive closings above its all-time high, that is 4,886.86, then only the S&P 500 will come into the condition wherein it can sustain within this zone. And when it sustains in this zone and there comes more closings above the previous all-time high in the Dow Jones, okay, then only it will be in a condition to move up towards the 7,000, but still the hit to the 7,000 is not expected. One more thing, that the lower level charts are saturated and overbought. Okay, this means that continuous bullish movement in the S&P 500 will make the S&P 500 so heavy that it will be pushed to come down to what? Come down at least to the 6,900 and then to hold and sustain, and it will then waste its energy or will show its hesitation to lose the 6,900. And because it will then spend time to save itself means it is not going to lose the 6,900, so it will waste its time. In that manner, there will not be enough time left to try for the 7,000 at all. Okay, so in this manner, the Dow Jones will tell us whether the S&P 500 is going to move up or not. Okay, and the Dow Jones will also tell us if the S&P 500 will remain bearish or not. Okay, so in this manner, the 695x 6x zone is there in the bull side. This zone will restrict the bullish movement, okay, when it will try to move up. Only when the Dow Jones gives back-to-back 2 or back-to-back more than 2 consecutive closings, daily closings above the all-time high of 4,886.86, the S&P 500 will come into the condition to sustain and to move above the 695x 696x zone and can move towards the 7000, but a hit to the 7000 is still not possible as such. Okay, now let's say the S&P 500 moves up on Monday for some reason, okay, known or unknown. S&P 500 moves up heavily on Monday, okay, and it reaches near to the 7000 like 698x or 699x. Okay, it reaches to the 7000. Okay, then what will happen? Then after Monday we will see fall and fall. Okay, so in that case it won't matter whether the S&P 500 has hit the 7000 or not. It won't matter as such. Okay, it will move up and then it will fail, because then it will create a psychological situation, a psychological condition wherein everyone would like to book their profits, and then the selling. This selling will bring the S&P 500 down to the 684x/5x to fulfill its technical obligation. Okay, this is the case if it moves up heavily on Monday, or let's say it doesn't move up heavily on Monday, okay, but moves up heavily on Tuesday or Wednesday. Means whenever it moves up, okay, Monday will be very, very crucial in this manner. But if it doesn't happen on Monday and it moves up heavily, okay, Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, and reaches near to the 7000, then we will see the selling. Okay, it may give up, it may fall heavily without hitting the 7000, or it may fall heavily after touching or hitting the 7000. The fall will be there, the profit booking, the good or heavy profit booking will be there. The bullish movement that has started from here, okay, the profit booking of this bullish movement, and then it will come down, okay, back to the range, the 684x 5x. Okay, this is the bullish side movement in the S&P 500, okay, and the same in the Dow Jones. Bearish side for now, irrespective of any case, profit booking or no profit booking, limited fall or any fall, bearish side for now is the 6,900. 6,900 is the psychological level, because now that there are three consecutive closings above the 6,900 and 2 consecutive closings above the previous all-time high. So because of this condition, the S&P 500 would now is in the condition wherein it will hesitate to lose the 6,900 in a manner that even if there comes a breach, then also it will retrace back and will try to close above the 6,900. So when I say that losing the 6,900 or level, it means the closing, okay, hourly closings, the 4-hourly closings or the daily closing. Okay, so within an hour or within a day, okay, there may come a breach, but question is that whether the index has sustained or not. Okay, where exactly is the closing? Closing matters a lot. Okay, so even if it breaches the 6,900 a little but retrace back and closes above the 6,900, then also it will remain okay in the 6,900 range and will remain heavily bullish. Heavily bullish means in a manner that as long as it is holding, sustaining and closing above the 6,000, although it will be preferred, the previous all-time high 692034 will be preferred. Okay, as long as this condition is there, S&P 500 will remain in a condition to test the 695x 6x zone. Okay, and if all goes well, there is no bearish and nothing, okay, if all conditions are good, technicals are not saturated or so, then only it can try to move towards the 7,000. okay, otherwise not, right? The problem in the bearish side will happen when the S&P 500 loses the 7,000 on the closing basis. Means there is a closing below the 6,900. Okay, not 7,000, 6,900. Okay, this will start to happen when there comes hourly closings below the 6,900. Okay, well, this is a condition kind of, you will see that closings, yes, here, okay, we have seen the closings. Okay, S&P 500 was coming down, it moved up, breached the 6,800 but failed to sustain and close above 6,800. It remained below and closed below 6,800 for 2 consecutive days, and then we have seen fall and fall. Okay, and exactly the same again, that thing. Similarly, the 6900 will also do the same. If there comes closings below 6900, this means that it will have to come down to 684x 5x to fulfill its technical obligation which is pending. Okay, now when it comes down to the 684x 5x, this does not mean that market has given up, everything is bearish. No, no, no. This means that it has come down to fulfill its technical obligation. Technically it is still bullish. Okay, in this case or in any case, we will have to look into what is happening to the stochastic RSI. Do not forget about the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart of the S&P 500. This is very, very crucial. That is why repeatedly in the for the daily movements, okay, I mentioned this to my Patreon community members. Okay, stochastic RSI, when that turned bullish, MACD turned bullish. Okay, the S&P 500 turned absolute bullish within the week. And then yesterday on Friday, I mentioned that if the S&P 500 closes above 6,922, then this means stochastic RSI on the weekly chart remains bullish, not bearish, and it is not going to, means nothing is going to trigger the correction or very heavy fall in the market. So the stochastic RSI is very, very important and is very, very crucial. Okay, so we will have to look into the stochastic RSI from Monday onwards, because if the situation improves and the stochastic RSI remains bullish on the weekly chart, and there are chances that it can remain bullish, then this means that at first the S&P 500 will move up, will test, hit the 7,000, will move into the 7,000 range. Okay, means in between the 7,000 and the 7,100, then only it will fail, and then only it will come down. Okay, otherwise not. Okay, this is what we will get to know through the stochastic RSI. Okay, so yes, otherwise I was talking about the bearish movement. Yes guys, so I forgot this thing, that if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. And so far, if you have liked this video, then hit like to appreciate, and your appreciation matters a lot. Now the bearishness that I was talking about. So first of all, we know that 6,900 is the critical level. Okay, 6,900, very, very critical for the S&P 500, right? Closings below 6,900 means it will be coming down. Now there is the situation. The situation is at the 687x. There is a level in the 687x. This level has proved itself again and again. Okay, and on Monday, the S&P 500 was struggling. Okay, at the 687x. Okay, but was still holding. Okay, at the 687x. That is why on Tuesday in my pre-market analysis, I mentioned this to my Patreon community members, that the S&P 500, after getting rejections, back-to-back rejections on the hourly closing basis at the 687x, S&P 500 did not give up, did not come down. Okay, this means that S&P 500 is going to sustain bullish for the rest of the week until Friday. Okay, so this was very much clear from the Monday onwards. Okay, then was confirmed, okay, in the Tuesday morning before the open of the stock market, that until Friday, until 26th of December, the S&P 500 will remain bullish, and it did. Okay, so 687x. Now when it comes down from the 6,900, then it will hold at 687x the level. Okay, for the obligation to be fulfilled, a closing, daily closing, not hourly, but a daily closing below 687x must be there, then only the obligation will be fulfilled. Otherwise, it has the potential to retrace from 687x to recover the 6,900. In that case, this obligation will remain pending for a few more days or a few more weeks. Then again, whenever there will be the heavy fall, just like this fall, or this fall, then only this obligation will be fulfilled. But this obligation will be fulfilled, this is 100% confirmed. Okay, so whether it happens in this week, especially, okay, in this condition when loses the 6,900, or it may happen in the second week or the third week, but this will happen. This is what we know. Okay, so this means that initially, okay, so the early signal or indication will be whether the S&P 500 is holding or sustaining above this small zone or not. Okay, created by the all-time high level and my level in the 691x. Okay, this zone is created by, because once once it loses this the zone, okay, or if it loses the zone, fails to sustain at the zone, this means that now there are very good chances that it will also lose the 6,900. There will be some hesitation, okay, that is clear, no doubt about that, but most likely it will lose the 6,900, okay, and this is what we know, right? So, but if all goes well, okay, if the Dow Jones supports and Dow Jones clears and gives a closing, a breach will not work. No, 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 a breach will not work. A closing must be there. A closing will work. Breach will not work. We need at least 2 consecutive closings so that it can support the entire market. It can trigger more bullishness in the entire market, including the S&P 500. But guys, whatever will happen or whatever is going to happen, I will keep you posted through these daily precise updates, which I give to my Patreon community members every day from Monday through Friday. So guys, hit like if you have liked this S&P 500 weekly technical analysis. And if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. And guys, if you have any questions that you want to ask, then please feel free to ask your question through the comment section.